Welcome, everybody, to a free webinar that I call From Overreaction to Conscious Action. I love teaching this material. It is some of the little tricks and what I call parenting hacks that I have discovered over the last 25 years of parenting and education. And really what I've realized just this week is that these little tools are really all about having fun while also getting stuff done. And I think that that can be one of the major tensions in parenting is like there's so much on the to-do list. But kids just want to play and be weird. And so how do we meet both of those needs? And kind of give ourselves a little grace to maybe also get a little weird or to do some things that can bring about a little bit more flow in the direction of, again, like meeting both of those needs, meeting our kid where they're at, but also getting stuff done. Yeah, so we'll see where this goes next, because I find that when I have people here live, I speak directly to their lived experiences. I come up with new ideas on the spot. I'm always generating these kinds of creative ideas, and I just can't wait. So this is going to be really fun. First, I'm going to just share what we'll go over. I'm going to do a little welcome where I share some more details about myself and what I do. Then we're going to do a short grounding, because really stepping into that energetic space can be so supported by just taking a few moments to resource ourselves. Then I'm going to share some details about the human energy field, and we'll shift into from the energy field around our human body into the energetic environment. And then I'll share my 5 parenting hacks, which is going to be really fun. And then to close, I'll share a little bit about my custom curriculum called Roots to Grow, Wings to Fly. And after I share about that, we'll open it up for questions for everyone who's here live to really ask about either ask questions about the material you heard, about the course that I have to offer, or just tell me a little bit about your unique wild kid, and we'll brainstorm some fun games or strategies that could work in your specific life. So first, a little bit about myself. My name is Anna Howes, and I really have found that in stretching ourselves to become whole people, to find that holistic health in our lives, we can each be part of our own personal quest towards more peace, joy, and love, but also towards that collective quest. Because I find that raising children has been all about reparenting and raising myself and going into deep into my own personal healing, but that also raising children is huge motivation in raising great kids is creating a great world where we can all live and really see see the kind of world we want to live in actually starting to happen in real time right in front of us. I am a mother of 2. My kids are currently 17 and 24. I have spent over 25 years as an educator, as an early educator and a Montessori preschool teacher. I also homeschool my children following more of an unschool or self-directed learning kind of style. And I have studied 4 years at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing. So I have a degree in healing science as an energy healer, and I work from my office in South Burlington with folks in person for energy healing, but also remotely with people all over the country and the world, working on doing that personal process and transformation work. And I find, again, that that leads directly into the work I do with families. So I also work as a family coach, offering online education and one-on-one sessions to support people with their family's unique constellation and finding that peace and joy and kind of living into our own values and lifestyle in a more authentic way with our kids. And right now, this, I was thinking specifically of a few people on this call. I wanted to make sure to share that I've put myself out there to also support people in person with some meeting some childcare needs. So for nights out or I've even considered doing early morning childcare. I'll come pick your kids up and take them out to breakfast and give you a morning on the weekend to yourself. Or if it's school holidays or different breaks, I want to get in front of I want to have some hands-on experience with kids. So that's something that I'm offering right now. Um, I offer that here in Vermont, but I will also travel. And I've also just recently become a substitute at several preschool classrooms, as well as at our local children's library. So that's really fun. And part of that is actually getting that hands-on experience with kids right now in this moment after having lived through a worldwide pandemic, you know, handled stress and trauma that most of us could have never even imagined would happen in our lifetime. And now here our children are on the other side of that, really trying to figure out how to navigate the world. And I want to be, in relationship with kids who, of all different ages, who are really kind of sitting in this space and figuring out what's next. I've done a lot with teens and young adults in that space because that's where my kids are, but I would love to be able to support you and your family as well. And to be able to bring more authentic experiences into the content I'm creating for all of you, because ultimately I want to support you and what you're experiencing. All right. I was trying to talk really fast. So I am looking forward to doing a little grounding with you all. So taking a moment to start by noticing yourself. And like, as I'm noticing myself, I'm just bringing my attention to my skin and what the textures are in my skin and around my body. And I'm noticing immediately that my blood has been pumping pretty quickly because I was really excited to teach this course. Maybe if you've been rushing around, you also have a little bit of that live feeling. Or perhaps you've had a really mellow morning and as you're noticing yourself, you're realizing like, there's not much of a dramatic sensation. So whatever sensation is there, whether it's subtle or whether it feels really intense, just start to notice how that might shift as you shift your attention from the outside of your skin deeper inward. And we're going to use the breath to bring our attention inward. So breathing in, noticing the air entering your body. For me, in my excitement, it's just entering a tiny bit. Like the breath is still pretty shallow, but I can feel as it enters my lungs. And with each breath, my awareness allows it to grow a little bit longer. Noticing if anything shifts, maybe your digestion starts to gurgle because you're eating your lunch and the breath is supporting digestion. Maybe you're noticing there's some tension in your neck or shoulders as you're breathing. Just noticing and letting that sink down deeper into your body. As you breathe, start to feel as your body gains a little bit more density towards the earth. Breath can do this. It can sink us into our chair. Feel yourself just dropping. Maybe you're feeling your feet a little heavier on the ground. Noticing if there's any parts of your body resisting that sinking feeling. And noticing if you have ah this deep relief, or maybe even just the desire to give completely in, to just letting it all go and sinking deep into your chair or the floor below you. As you're noticing your body, just begin to bring awareness to the texture of the combination of your thoughts and your body. Giving your thoughts the opportunity to focus on your body can ease some of the internal chatter. But sometimes the to-do list and all the things that can occupy an adult mind are just so noisy that they're not quite feeling settled. But they still will add texture to your awareness. So just noticing if the thoughts that you're thinking are combining with your body and causing any kind of anxious feelings or stiff or hard feelings, or maybe a sense of emptiness, there'll be like a texture to it. Or maybe as you're breathing, you're actually just really grateful for this moment to relax. And so you're noticing the texture is soft and gentle. And maybe you can even find your way to noticing where in your body there's a feeling of gratitude, acceptance, and love. And in this space, there's no judgment. One or the other, a busy mind, an anxious body, or a settled, relaxed mind and body, both exist in the same space. And I'll witness myself in feeling both of those things. I can feel the heaviness in my chair, and I can also feel a tender little nervous twitch happening in my left eye right now. So I'm both feeling relaxed and excited, as well as nervous and a little bit anxious. All of that is welcome here. I'm bringing that all into this space. So just taking one more minute, use this moment to just do one last full body scan. So perhaps at this moment, your eyes are closed, or you've found yourself in a gentle gaze, staring out into the distance. And just use your mind's eye to picture yourself from head to toe, scanning your head, face, neck, shoulders, your arms, chest, torso, your pelvis, hips, legs, and feet. Taking in the whole, all that is you. And from this place of holistic awareness, just gently opening your eyes or bringing your attention back to the screen if you'd like to look at the images on the PowerPoint, or just bringing your awareness to my voice so you can take in the information. I'm going to share a little bit about the human energy field. Bringing this holistic awareness to our body allows us to have more context for what it might feel like or look like to also be able to have a holistic awareness of our energy and our energy field? As I mentioned, I studied at the Barbara Brennan School of Healing. Dr. Barbara Ann Brennan was a NASA scientist who is quoted as having left the study of outer space to study inner space. And she used the Western scientific method and Western scientific tools to study, measure, and quantify the human energy field. There is, in fact, an electromagnetic field running through and around all living things. And this energy field is a series or a continuum of vibrational frequencies. And this is something that we actually already talk about and understand in a lot of common ways. It's kind of incredible how much we actually already talk about energy in our daily lives. One of the things I hear people saying all the time is like, oh, I went into this new shop downtown. I love the vibe in there. It's so cool, right? Vibe is actually short for vibration. Or maybe, someone walks into the room and you instantly are like, ooh, I'm not really into their vibe, right? You can feel it. It actually gives us a felt sense. And one of the ways that I love to describe the human energy field is through being able to visualize sound waves, because it's one of the only wave vibrations that we really learn about in school, in elementary school or college. So if you can imagine, when a gong is struck, you can imagine and feel, if you're close enough, the vibration of that sound rippling out in concentric circles away from the gong. And when that vibration reaches your inner ear, we interpret that as sound. Well, our human energy field also has a vibration, a vibrational wave. And as we, as we act, react, feel things throughout our day, we emit that vibration out into the world. And others around us feel that, just like we feel other people's energy fields. I'm going to skip down to the last bullet on this slide and just say that we also use our energy all the time. So these vibrations can actually have all kinds of different textures or feelings. And so ways that we often use our energy is like, we can actually push with our energy, try to make space for ourselves, actually, send a vibration out that will kind of deter other people from getting close to us. Maybe it has spikes on it, right? So it's really aggressively like, get back. Or maybe it's just like a solid wall we put up in our energy to just give that that feeling like to others that this is the boundary. I don't want you to come any closer. We can also pull. Sometimes when we have needs that go unmet, we can actually use our energy to try to draw from other people to meet our needs without speaking them directly, and this is one that it took me a while to see how I was doing this. It took me actually having a knee injury, sitting on the couch in just after surgery in recovery. And I remember I actually said it to my therapist at one point. I said to her, I'm sitting on the couch and no one's bringing me water. And she said, well, did you tell anyone you were thirsty or ask for water? And it was in that moment that I realized, no, I never actually verbalized it, but I had been doing this thing where I'd been trying to pull them towards me with my energy, like bring me water. Which actually, unfortunately, made my family not want to be close to me because it didn't feel good to them to be pulled at and not know why, because I wasn't saying it directly. Another way we use our energy can be withdrawal. So, when we don't feel safe, we can often retreat deep inside ourselves or pull our energy way back to try to avoid being close to something that doesn't feel good. So those are just a few examples. I could teach a whole nother webinar just on these concepts of the ways that we're already naturally using our energy, or maybe not consciously using our energy. The other thing that I love about the human energy field is that over time, as I've begun to understand the anatomy of the human energy field and the chakra systems, it's helped me have a map that directly spells out how mental and emotional health can be directly related to physical health. It also provides a map for understanding ourselves in relationship to others. So our energy plus someone else's energy equals relationship. And when we can understand the ways that we use our energy in conscious and unconscious ways, and how maybe the people that we love use their energy in conscious and unconscious ways, we can really understand a little bit more where some of the conflicts or sticky points are coming from, and also ways in which we can shift to help create those closer relationships that we're really longing for. So that was a little bit about human energy fields. Next, we are going to talk about the 5 parenting hacks. And as I promised, we were going to talk about the energy in the environment. So that is actually the first parenting hack, is building the energetic environment. The second hack we're going to talk about is creating a healing response. A lot of us have heard of a trauma response. So how can we shift that and really help ourselves understand what it might be like to hold a conscious healing response? And then one of my favorites is the element of surprise that can shift things almost immediately. Then we'll talk about big energy versus little energy. And finally, a little bit about something I call mom kung fu. I hope you guys are going to find these really fun. So first, building the energetic environment. As I mentioned, when someone walks into the room and we instantly feel their energy, it can really shift things from being really fun and positive to being like almost dangerous, or, frustrating, depressed, sad. So understanding our energy can help us also understand the impact it has on the environment. So building an energetic environment really means that when we enter a space, we can really begin to cultivate a vibe in the space that spells out the kind of activities, the kind of environment, the kinds of things we want to even do in that space. So if you want to have a quiet reading room, for instance, you might set in soft lighting and have a nice rug on the floor. When the walls are stacked with bookshelves and books, it kind of dampens the sound. And all of a sudden, the space feels cozy and calm. When you walk into a quiet reading space, like a library, you almost instantly whisper, right? Because it's just got this feeling of quiet and calmness. But it's really important for our kids that we have multiple different spaces with multiple different energies, because their energy is constantly changing and they go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. So knowing that there's a space for how they're feeling is so important. So we also want to build spaces where they are invited to do a lot of movement, or maybe make a lot of sound, or reminding ourselves, more importantly, that shifting from an indoor space to an outdoor space can have a huge impact on the energetic environment. And this is where I love to just talk about the healing power of nature. I have an entire training just on that. But if you can just for a moment in your mind's eye, imagine yourself walking in the woods. Maybe there's a little trail you like to walk through a park, or maybe there is a space that you like to go where you can sit by a little body of water and notice the animals that come there and feel the wind or the sun. Just notice how that shifts in your body. For me, my heart instantly opens. I feel safe and connected in nature. And there are so many studies that actually show that it has such a positive impact on our nervous system. And so when we can also shift that with our children, and this is what I did this weekend. I was with my nephew who's 7.5 years old, and he was feeling left out. He was feeling anxious and frustrated. And he really just wanted someone to engage in his game. But I wasn't really feeling like I wanted to sit on the couch and look through, um, all of his Pokemon cards. That was really kind of what he was trying to get me to do. So we'll talk about this, but I used Mom Kung Fu a little bit to be able to navigate how to bring two ideas together. And I thought, oh, if I could just get him outside, I bet everything would shift. And it was exactly what happened. As soon as we got out into the woods, it was like his imagination went wild. I felt a little bit more free and playful, and we actually got to engage in a game where I got to take those deep breaths I needed outdoors, and he got to lead me on a wild Pokemon chase through the woods. So building the energetic environment can take on lots of shapes and forms, but reminding ourselves that little things we can do can shift that environment. So the last piece I'll say, well, is bringing nature inside. So plants and animals indoors can be really impact the energetic environment, but so can music. So reminding yourself that putting on a song, sometimes if I just shift I can shift the energy by putting on one of my child's favorite songs, and she'll come out of the woodwork as a 17-year-old who's often just in her room doing her own thing. If I put on a particular song that I know she loves, she'll come out. And if I'm doing the dishes, sometimes she'll just come and hang in the kitchen with me. And once the energy and the mood is right, I might even be in a great place to ask her to help me out with some chores. And then suddenly we're listening to music, we're having fun, and we're getting stuff done. All right. Creating a healing response. This also supports us with creating the energetic environment. And I'm not going to go into great detail about this, but this is one of the places that I support people in one-on-one healings, is actually by not just providing body work, but actually by working together with my clients to support them in finding their unique healing response. The idea of a healing response is that often when we are triggered, we go into an automatic energetic reaction. So this is the place where we are in an emotional reaction. Something has triggered us. We're feeling really frustrated or really upset, or we want to hide, right? There's like a lot of different ways, and our energy goes into like an automatic response. This is often something that kept us safe when we were children. So there is no shame in the responses, the energetic sort of trauma responses or triggers that we use, because again, these are things that often kept us safe when we were children. But when we can start to notice them, we can begin to give ourselves what we need through our own energetic healing response. And then when we can do this, we can then begin to provide that to others, like our children. So an example of holding that space for a child might be, well, I'll use my own example, which is that with young adults and teens over the last 4 years, there has been a lot of disappointment. A lot of things have felt really disappointing. And that is not something that was received well by my parents, right? I was often told that I was the disappointment, and I wasn't really allowed to be disappointed or bummed out about things. And so it took me a while to be able to shift that with my kids, but holding a healing response for a disappointed kid really was all about holding space to say, all that you're feeling is welcome here, and allowing myself to stay in that centered and grounded place while they bring me their disappointment, and not trying to fix it, not trying to like bright side them and say, everything will be better tomorrow. Let's go get some ice cream, but just sitting and holding that space in and of itself. That active listening is a healing response. And then the second example I'll use here is in the example that I brought up. So when I was on the couch healing from knee surgery and I wanted water, there was a part of me that didn't get to receive that kind of nourishment by asking when I was a child. And food is a big trigger for me. I had forgotten, I had thought about sharing this in this webinar this morning. In my family, you had to finish the food on your plate, whether you liked it or not. And my dad's one line was so if you were a kid and you said, I don't really like this dinner, my dad's one-liner was, eat it till you puke. That was literally what he told us when we were kids. So you were not allowed to have any kind of unique desires when it came to food. And I was really only, it was kind of one of those things, you get what you get. And so I didn't ask for anything and I just took whatever I got. I have done a lot of work on healing this. And in that moment when I knew I needed water, but wasn't asking for water, and I could see how in my energy I was trying to pull without asking, the healing response I created for myself, I call it vanilla pudding. And the energy of vanilla pudding to me is like this deep nourishment. It's sweet, it's satisfying, it's like mother's milk. And I actually can feel the texture of it energetically as I imagine myself. Imagine myself with that hunger, and I draw it in and I bring it into myself energetically. And this then gives me the permission. So this is why I was thinking of it this morning, because my husband bought coffee that I don't like. And in the past, I would have just drank it anyway. But this morning I said, no, you know what? I'm going to go buy myself a coffee this morning. I'm going to spend the extra money to get a coffee I like. And that is something new for me because I've been practicing this healing response of taking in the nourishment that I know that I need and deserve energetically through a healing response I call vanilla pudding. And when I do this, it then nourishes me enough to be able to hold that space for my kids when they're disappointed because I'm not feeling depleted myself. So before I change the slide, that was a really big share. And I just want to give everyone a moment to just be curious enough what it would feel like to give yourself permission to receive everything that you need and to feel full. Because as cheesy or cliche as it sounds, as parents or as mothers, all of us here live are mothers, we often are told to give and give and give from a selfless place, selflessly give till we're so depleted. I've been at the place where I've been scraping the bottom of the barrel and still finding more to give to everybody without actually nourishing myself. And so the cliche here is that when we can fill our cup first, we can then give from the overflow. There can be so much, we can be so full that there's like extra to give. And we can give from a self-full place. So just imagine giving yourself that permission to fill your cup first and fill yourself to the point of overflow so that giving can feel effortless. Okay, now into the last three, which are really fun. So use the element of surprise. I love, 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 love this tool. This is where a quick shift in perspective or a shift in energy can really get our kids like, what is happening here? Like, who is this lady, right? And that can help support us shifting out of patterns, especially when we get into those cyclical patterns of struggle or conflict with our kids. Because just the same way that we've created energetic patterns from our past that continue to replay in our lives day in day out, those energetic patterns are what then create the patterns, the behavioral patterns that we have with our kids. And so this is also about like really shifting those generational woundings so we can stop generational patterns from continuing to repeat. And one of the ways I do this is with the element of surprise. So one of the things that I used to do, this one's really hilarious, but my kids were in a age gap where they had really different needs. So everything caused them to bicker and fight with each other. They were just constantly at each other's throats. And for a long time, I would try to come in and fix it, or I would tell them to stop. And then one day, this like little tune started in my head, and I just decided that I would come into the room where they were fighting, singing this song. And it goes like this. We're a happy family. We're a happy family. We're a happy family. And I would jump around and sing it. And I think my kids were probably about 6 and 13 at this time, or somewhere around there. So the funny thing that would happen in this moment with this element of surprise is that they would go from fighting each other to suddenly being on the same team, looking at me, being like, Mom, you're so weird. They're like, right? Isn't she weird? Oh, she's so weird. Will you stop that? And they would all of a sudden forget what they were bickering about in order to like have this camaraderie around the fact that their mom was just so bizarre. And then there was like an opening. There was a little bit of an opening in the energy for us to have a more productive conversation, or for us to talk about what we could do next. So that was one way that I've used the element of surprise. It looks like we might have lost one of our participants who's also a Montessori educator, but I know we've talked about using this in the classroom as well, right? It's kind of one of those things where you might say like, oh, what's that? Oh, I thought I just saw something flying by, right? Like just using this, a gasp of surprise, literally, can sometimes shift things. Or yeah, just doing something a little out of the ordinary to shake things up. Okay, that seamlessly goes right into big energy versus little energy. So one way we can shift with using the element of surprise is by introducing big energy, right? Like coming in, banging a pot, or the striking the cymbal, or suggesting like, let's go jump on the trampoline, right? Like bringing in that big energy can really shift things. But so can bringing the energy down to a really small place. So one of the ways I used to get the attention, this was a classroom of over 25 3 to 5-year-olds, and it could get really loud in there. And you'd think a lot of adults will want to shout, everybody quiet down, right? But actually, one of the best ways to shift the energy in that kind of situation and get everyone to be quiet is to begin whispering. And if I notice something like, oh, something so tiny on the floor, oh my gosh, look, it's a little slug. It's a little slug crawling across the cement, right? And like, oh, the energy goes down into this minute detail, and everyone's whispering and we're noticing something together. It can really quiet things down quickly, but also draw their energy in to noticing you and to listening to you. And then you can maybe offer the instruction, right? Like, okay, now that, wow, we've checked out this slug here. What if we got our shoes on next and we could go get in the car so we could get ready to go to soccer practice or whatever it is, right? So instead of trying to shout and get everybody to get organized, sometimes whispering and drawing the children in with small energy can really shift things quickly. All right, and the final parenting hack is what I call mom kung fu. I also call it mom tai chi. And this idea was designed from actually watching kung fu movies early on. When I was a young adult, I had a passion for watching kung fu movies, and there's one in particular called Tai Chi Master. And in this, it's two brothers, and they have it's because it's also called Twin Warriors, actually. And so it's the two of them, they're brothers, and they have a huge conflict. And one of them is extremely aggressive, and the other one wants to stop him from like destroying the world, essentially. And And what he discovers, first he goes into a deep depression because he feels like there's nothing he can change. But then he notices the leaves swirling with the wind, and he notices the water begins to also swirl with the wind. And he notices how the wind then pushes the ball across um, the space where he is standing, and he begins to move his body in the same motion as the wind swirling, and he can add more energy to the swirling wind, and he can begin to swirl the leaves and the water and the ball, and then that ball has so much momentum and force, he can actually push it in a new direction. And so the idea of Mom Kung Fu or Mom Tai Chi is to actually move with the energy in order to change the energy. So instead of your kid's going this way and you want to go this way and you guys just clash, right? You can actually move with your child to then support them with turning and going the other way. I wish you guys could see all my motions. I know I'm in a tiny box right here. This would be a fun one to practice in person in a big space. But so many times I've seen that be so successful with my children. And especially in spaces where your child may have some neurodiversity, neurodivergence, this can be really helpful because when our brains are differently wired, they're often wired in a way that are constantly seeking dopamine. And with a dopamine seeking brain, it's like you want to go towards the things that light you up, that turn you on, that make you feel good. And sometimes things like schoolwork or going grocery shopping, feel like such a bummer, right? Or sitting down at the dinner table, right? It can just feel like such a hit to the dopamine. And so if you can find ways to really go with the energy, like bring that dopamine along the journey. Like I even heard one mom say, I'm a big fan of this, which is dessert before dinner. I'm a huge fan of dessert before dinner. Number one, why do I want to feed my kid dessert and then put them to bed? But number two, often right before dinner, we're at that really low blood sugar moment, which inhibits dopamine, and it can just feel like such a fight or a slog to get our kid to the dinner table when we're saying like, hey, dinner's ready, or like, come eat your broccoli, right? But if you're like, hey, you got some ice cream on the table, you want to come sit down? It's like, yeah, right? It's like ding, 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 you hit the dopamine light bulb. And then once you're sitting and you've cultivated that family experience and community around the dinner table, it can be so much easier to then shift into offering some dinner. I think dessert spoiling your dinner is kind of an old paradigm concept. So that's a little bit about Mom Kung Fu. I would be really excited to dive into some of these ideas with y'all in real time once we shift into the questions section. But first, I wanted to just bring your focus to my course, Roots to Grow, Wings to Fly. You all who are live here are going to be the first to hear that I have actually made some adjustments, changes to the course specifically because of some parent feedback. And I'm about to offer a new cohort of families to join me to go through the curriculum together. So Roots to Grow, Wings to Fly was born during lockdown in 2020 because I was getting so many calls from friends, families, coworkers, educators, so many people working with kids who were just panicked. And it felt really frustrating and overwhelming. And it was hard to know like what direction to go in. And so I found myself really coming up with all these creative ideas, pulling together all the things I learned about child development in early childhood, all the things I had experimented with in my own parenting, as well as the information that I know from my study of the human energy field and energy practices. And I created a 5-module course where we move through concepts like slowing down, building trust, creating connection, and developing tools for independence and success, all using this framework of the human energy field and developmentally best practices. This is my little window into some of the grounded and expansive practices that I have used to raise my amazing kids, and I want to share it with you. So the entire course is online. It's recorded videos and handouts, but I am going to offer it now for a small group of families to join me in a group setting where we will meet once a week for 6 weeks, and you will get all the information in the course in live instruction, but also have time to ask specific questions on how to put this stuff into practice in your own lives. One of the most important things to me is that anyone who comes to me to ask for parenting support or support with children of any age is that I don't want you to ever feel like I'm trying to give you like the magic wand or the one size fits all, like perfectly curated, like just do this and all your problems will be solved. I was a young parent, and in my early days of parenting, I felt like everybody, family, friends, experts, doctors, total strangers on the street would come up to me and say, if you just did this, then, your kid would actually behave in the restaurant. Or if you just did this, all of your problems would be solved. Everyone had some kind of advice to give. But ultimately, the things that left me feeling successful were the unique individual solutions that I created for my family. So that's what this course is all about. It's not really about telling you what to do, but it's about giving you a template for how to create your own unique solutions for your unique kids, your unique family that matches your values, and really helps you live the lifestyle that you're longing to live. It's going to look really different than what I've done with my kids. I can share the silly stories of the things that I've done that have worked and the things that I have done that haven't worked. But ultimately, you're going to have to try and fail in your own ways and learn in your own ways so that you can really cultivate those unique relationships. So that's Roots to Grow, Wings to Fly. And I am launching today. Like I said, you're the first ones to hear that the doors are now open for the first cohort of families. I'm going to put the link in the chat so that you can check out the course. I think I can even open the window right now so you can take a quick peek. Nope, it's this page right here for the live instruction. So 6 weeks of live instruction. I'm going to give you the link to this page yourself so that you can sign up. We're going to start the first week of October with live instruction. Yeah, I'll just take a quick tour of this page. Like I said, you'll get all 5 modules. You'll get the live instruction. You'll also receive an opportunity to be the first group of families to experience what I'm calling the Ask Me Anything hotline. I'm going to use a WhatsApp group to allow you to text me or voice message me anytime throughout the week to just get one-on-one support. You will also get a one-on-one coaching session included with the price of the course so that you'll actually have a 90-minute session to just sit down with me and brainstorm your own unique solutions, as well as lifetime access to the 5-module online course. You can come back to this anytime because as your children grow and change, you'll want to come back to these tools over and over again because you're going to need to keep making adjustments in your lives to meet them where they're at. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of this course, there will always be more bonuses because as you ask questions, I create more materials. Some of the materials that were created with the last course group were the family values worksheet, because so many people were like, you keep mentioning our values, but how do we know what they are and how do we develop them as a family? So now you also get a bonus, which is a family values worksheet, which comes with a video on how to really go through with your family and creating your own unique set of values. And yeah, so I hope you'll check that out. And if you have any questions about what this might look like, again, we've got all the modules from Slow Down, Build Trust, Create Connection, Routines in Everyday Living, as well as Independence and Success, Family Gratitude Practices. And yeah, so if you have any questions about the course, or if you just want to ask me some questions about how to put some of these parenting hacks into practice in your own life, we'll do that now, because we are on to the questions section of this. If you're watching this playback, the recording's going to end now, so thank you so much for watching. But if you have questions, you can email me directly. You just reply to the email in which you received this recording, and I will answer your questions, because I'm a real person on the other line of that email address. So thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you all soon.